Between takes, a widow came backstage and handed John Wayne her husband's jacket. Wayne looked at it and accepted it silently. That jacket wasn't just clothing to him, it was a debt. The year was 1976. Monument Valley, Utah. The same red desert where John Wayne had filmed his first Western nearly 40 years earlier. Now he was back, older, slower, his body ravaged by cancer surgery and decades of cigarettes. This would be one of his final films. The jacket was olive drab green. U.S. Army dress uniform. World War II era. Service ribbons still pinned to the breast. A name stitched above the pocket, CPL, James Hutchins. Wayne held it in both hands. He didn't speak. Didn't ask questions. Just stood there in the dusty backstage area between sound stages, holding a dead man's uniform jacket while the widow who'd brought it watched his face. Her name was Dorothy Hutchins. She was 67 years old. She'd driven 11 hours from Bakersfield, California, with that jacket folded carefully in a box on the passenger seat of her Buick. She'd been planning this moment for 32 years. "My husband wanted you to have it," she said quietly. "He wanted to give it to you himself, but he died before he got the chance." Wayne looked at the name above the pocket. Then he looked at the woman. His jaw was tight. His eyes held something few people ever saw in John Wayne. Not anger, not sadness. "Wait. When did he pass?" Wayne's voice was low, barely above a whisper. 1944, Normandy. He was 23 years old." Wayne didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. To understand what happened in that moment, you need to understand what John Wayne carried for 50 years. A truth he never spoke about in interviews. A weight that made him into the man who played heroes but never claimed to be one. John Wayne was born Marion Morrison in 1907. When World War II began in 1941, he was 34 years old, married with 4 children, and on the edge of movie stardom. He had just done Stagecoach. The studios were starting to build him into something bigger. And he didn't go to war. He could have. He wanted to. At least, that's what he told himself for the rest of his life. He tried to get into John Ford's documentary unit. He talked about enlisting. He'd made plans. But Republic Pictures held his contract. They told him he was more valuable making movies that kept American morale high. They told him his films were essential to the war effort. They told him he had a family to support. They told him, and he listened. Jimmy Stewart went. Clark Gable went. Henry Fonda went. Directors, cameramen, grips, men Wayne knew, men he'd worked with, they all went. They served. Some of them died. Some of them came back different. John Wayne stayed in Hollywood and played soldiers. He made They Were Expendable in 1945. He played a PT boat commander. Real sailors came to watch the filming, men who'd actually been at Bataan, at Midway, at Guadalcanal. They watched Wayne pretend to do what they'd done for real. One of them, a kid named Frank, couldn't have been more than 19, approached Wayne between takes. He was missing his left arm. He'd lost it on a destroyer in the Pacific. He looked at Wayne in his costume officer's uniform and said, "You look real good, Mr. Wayne." Real authentic. There was no malice in it. No sarcasm. Just a kid who'd lost an arm for his country telling a movie star that his costume looked authentic. Wayne never forgot that moment. Never forgot the way the kid smiled when he said it, like it was a compliment. Never forgot the empty sleeve pinned up where the arm should have been. After the war, Wayne threw himself into playing military men with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Sands of Iwo Jima. The Fighting Seabees. Back to Bataan. Flying Tigers. He played soldiers and Marines and sailors and pilots. He embodied military honor on screen with such conviction that millions of Americans came to see him as the symbol of American courage. But John Wayne knew what he was. He was an actor who'd stayed home while real men died. He never said it publicly. Never complained about it. Never made excuses. He just kept working. kept playing the heroes, kept carrying the weight of knowing he'd never been one. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding. Dorothy Hutchins stood in that backstage area in Monument Valley, watching John Wayne hold her husband's jacket. She'd been carrying it since 1944. 32 years. She'd kept it clean, pressed, preserved. The ribbons still bright. The brass buttons still polished. "James wrote you a letter," she said, "before he shipped out. He never sent it because he thought it was foolish. But I found it after he died. It was with this jacket." She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope, yellowed with age, the edges worn soft from being handled too many times. She held it out to Wayne. He took it. His hands weren't steady. "You don't have to read it now," Dorothy said. "But he wanted you to know something. And I promised him I'd make sure you knew." Wayne looked at the envelope. No address. Just his name written in careful, masculine handwriting, John Wayne. He opened it slowly. The letter was one page. The handwriting was the same, careful, deliberate, the script of a man who'd learned to write properly and wanted to do it right. "Mr. Wayne, I'm shipping out tomorrow. We're heading for England and then who knows where. I wanted to write you before I go because I need to tell you something. My little brother Eddie asked me why you're not in uniform. He's 8 years old and he can't understand why John Wayne isn't fighting. I told him you're making pictures to keep folks' spirits up, which is important too. But he said, 'But James, if John Wayne isn't fighting, how do we know we can win?' I didn't know what to tell him. So I told him this: John Wayne shows us what we're supposed to be. He shows us what courage looks like, what honor looks like, what doing the right thing looks like even when it's hard. He's not fighting with a rifle, but he's fighting in his own way. I don't know if that's true, Mr. Wayne. I don't know if that's what you're doing. But I'm going to believe it is. Because I need to believe that when I'm over there, scared out of my mind, I can think about your movies and remember what a real man is supposed to do. If I don't make it back, I want you to have my jacket. Not as a judgment. As a thank you. You showed me how to stand tall. Now I'm going to do it for real. Respectfully, Corporal James Hutchins. Wayne read it twice. Then he carefully folded it and put it back in the envelope. He looked at Dorothy. His eyes were wet, but no tears fell. He died 2 weeks after D-Day, Dorothy said. Shrapnel. They said it was quick. I hope that's true. Wayne looked down at the jacket in his hands. At the name above the pocket. At the service ribbons earned by a man who believed John Wayne had taught him courage. Ma'am, Wayne said, his voice rough. I can't accept this. You have to, Dorothy said firmly. You already did. The moment you read that letter. James gave it to you 32 years ago. I'm just delivering it. Away from the cameras, Wayne made a choice no one expected. Wayne carefully folded the jacket. He tucked the letter into the inner pocket, right where it would rest against the heart if someone were wearing it. Then he looked at Dorothy. Did James have children? A daughter. Sarah. She was 6 months old when he left. She's 32 now. Married. She has a son named James, after his grandfather. I'd like to meet them. If that's acceptable to you. Dorothy's eyes filled with tears then. Why? Because your husband did something I didn't do. And his daughter grew up without a father because he had the courage I didn't have. That matters, ma'am. That needs to be acknowledged. Dorothy nodded, unable to speak. Wayne made a phone call from the production office. He arranged for Dorothy's daughter Sarah and her family to visit the set the next day. He had the production company pay for their hotel. He cleared it with the director. They'd lose half a day of shooting, but Wayne didn't care. When Sarah arrived with her husband and their 8-year-old son James, named for the grandfather he'd never meet, Wayne was waiting for them in his dressing trailer. The jacket was laid out carefully on a chair. The letter was beside it. Wayne crouched down to eye level with young James. "Your grandfather was a hero," he said. "A real one. Not like what I play in movies. He was the genuine article." The boy looked at Wayne with wide eyes. "Did you know him?" "No, son. But he knew me. And he wrote me a letter that I'm going to keep for the rest of my life." Wayne showed them the letter. Sarah read it and cried. Her husband put his arm around her. Young James looked at his grandfather's jacket with something like reverence. "Mr. Wayne," Sarah said, wiping her eyes, "my mother told me you didn't want to accept this. I didn't. Still don't feel right about it. But your father gave it to me 32 years ago, and I'm not going to refuse a gift from a man like that. What will you do with it?" Wayne looked at the jacket for a long moment. "I'm going to keep it where I can see it. Every day. So I remember why I do what I do." But what followed would stay with everyone who witnessed it, forever. John Wayne never wore that jacket. He had it mounted in a shadow box frame with the letter beside it. It hung in his bedroom in Newport Beach, California. Every morning when he woke up and every night before he went to sleep, he saw Corporal James Hutchins' name above the pocket. In interviews during his final years, reporters would sometimes ask Wayne about his wartime service. He'd deflect, change the subject, talk about the films he'd made instead. But once, in 1978, a year before he died, a reporter pushed harder. "Mr. Wayne, do you regret not serving in World War II?" Wayne was silent for a long time. Then he said, "I don't talk about that. Out of respect for the men who did serve. Men better than me." The reporter tried to follow up, but Wayne was done with the question. What the reporter didn't know, what almost no one knew, was that Wayne had been visiting veterans' hospitals since the 1950s. Quietly. Without publicity. He'd sit with men who'd lost limbs, lost their minds, lost their futures. He'd talk to them. Listen to them. Never as John Wayne the movie star. Just as a man who felt he owed them something. He funded college scholarships for children of deceased servicemen. He donated to veterans organizations. He did it all anonymously, through his lawyers, with strict instructions that his name never be attached. Because John Wayne understood something that took him decades to learn. Real courage isn't loud. Real honor isn't performed. Real men do what's right without needing credit for it. Corporal James Hutchins had taught him that with a single letter written the night before he shipped out to die. When John Wayne died in 1979, his will contained specific instructions. The jacket was to be returned to the Hutchins family. It was to be given to James Hutchins III, Dorothy's great-grandson, when he turned 18. Along with the jacket, Wayne left a letter of his own. "James, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Your great-grandfather and I will both be memories. But I want you to understand something before you put on this jacket, because you should put it on. It was made for men like him. Not men like me. Your great-grandfather died believing I taught him courage. The truth is the opposite. He taught me what courage actually means. It means doing the hard thing when no one's watching. It means serving something bigger than yourself. It means being willing to die for people you'll never meet. I played heroes. He was one. I spent 50 years trying to live up to the man he thought I was. I don't know if I succeeded. But I tried. Every day. Because of his letter. Because of his example. Wear this jacket with pride. You come from genuine American heroism. Don't let anyone tell you differently. John Wayne. Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. James Hutchins III received the jacket on his 18th birthday in 1988. He read Wayne's letter. He looked at his great-grandfather's name above the pocket. And he enlisted in the Marine Corps the next day. He served 20 years. Retired as a master sergeant. Never lost the jacket. Never forgot why he served. Today, that jacket hangs in the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. Next to it, in a simple frame, are two letters. One from a corporal who died believing John Wayne taught him courage. One from an actor who spent 50 years learning what courage actually meant. Between them, a small plaque reads, "Real heroes don't wear costumes. They wear the uniform." John Wayne knew that. He carried that knowledge every day until he died. The jacket he never wore became the weight he always carried. And in the end, that weight made him a better man than any role he ever played.